My best student came tonight. It's the cat. Did she leave? Oh, the cat. It is amazing how animals are called to peace, to environments of harmony and love. My pranams to Pujay Swami Swarupananda Ji, the great pillar of this institution here in the Bahamas, and to all of his disciples and beautiful souls who have been in seva or service to this kind and beautiful work. May we open this session with a prayer for healing, for Dr. Mark Halpern as well. Om Triambakai Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanan Mrityor Mukshya Ma Amrita Ata. The beautiful group that will be joining Dr. Mark Halpern, myself, we're all here together. And the team is right over there. Can you stand up, please? Lisa, Coffee, and Todd, and Santiago. Totally compassionate and proficient in their own right. An ounce of prevention. I rather like that title. I would never use it, but I like it. We need more like a ton of prevention and an ounce of common sense to go with it. Look, we live in precarious times. We are facing some of the most chaotic environmental, natural, if we can call it that, disasters. We are all standing on shifting grounds in one way or another. And psychically we are aware of this. Sadhana gives us stability, and hopefully with our own investment in inner medicine, which is sadhana, I'll talk about that later. With our own investment, making harmony our first priority, that investment, we can become stabilized on this shifting ground. It shan't get any better in terms of the ground shifting, I can assure you. But what will get better is sentiency, the growth of our own human understanding and sentiency. Tonight we'll talk about sadhana, a beautiful Sanskrit word that came from the root sad, S-A-D-H. We could say it means to practice, or to know, or to truth. Truth is a very, very costly gem to mine. But unless we unearth it, the understanding is peripheral. Sadhana is about truth. And do you know that when we have a state of disrepair, disease, disaster, all the D words, despair, disharmony, what happens? We pray, we cry. Sometimes we feel victimized by it, right? Can we not say that is the truth? Anger is a part of victimization. We respond in a way of, why me? How could this happen to me? That's karma. We'll get to that too later. But what is really working behind, we can say all of this stuff with why me, It couldn't happen. I feel like a victim. All of it's all part of our ego, isn't it? But there's also something else at work at the same time. The struggle for understanding, and that is your intellect, that is not your ego. And you have every single right to claim that intellect because you have it. It's called the buddhi. Unless we understand something, we cannot clear it out. Look, we have a huge example in the world today, Mr. Trump. And I think we should pray for him. He needs our prayers. He was elected as the president of a very large country. And he's on shifting ground. He's doing what he's doing. But here, it's just a symptom of our times. It's a symptom all over the world. I was in Europe writing my memoir. My editor is not too happy with the memoir because I have so many jokes in it. And I'm known for my books on practices. But for a little while there, having dropped my robes as a Swami, and I did that for a reason of my own personal growth. Imagine that. Renouncing the renunciation for my growth. But life happens like that. You know, everything we do, sadhana is an inside job. Of course, the mafia has the same mantra in New York. Always an inside job. But this inside job is about being particular to your purpose. Particular to your purpose. That is your sadhana. It's not necessarily, although we can start this way, we can go to yoga and do our meditation, and we shan't undermine that. Because these are pillars of our progress and our growth. But sadhana isn't even so much the practice that we do continually and ritually. Sadhana is an understanding. It's a clear understanding of getting to know who you are. Who are you precisely? Look, everything that hits us on the head is a karma. And we can say that there are two wings to karma, the punya and the papa. But it's not really so. Because if everything is Bhagwan, I am me hasto Bhagavan, my hands are Bhagavan. They are healing. They're the 5 elements. And if everything that is connected to me is Bhagwan, then how can there be punya and papa, meaning the good and the not so good? You understand? There is no such thing. It is all prasadam. Some prasadam jump out from the top through our bathroom window and hit us on the head. Hasn't been closed, by the way. Anyway, the fact of the matter is, we walk into a wall. We don't immediately say, oh my God, this is a blessing. But in a way, it is a blessing. Something else, it's telling us something else. The message is not as clear as when you're handed a pearl and you go, oh, this is a blessing. It's a beautiful pearl. It's a beautiful gem. But blessings, the biggest blessings come not undressed, but dressed. And dressed in such a way that you can't recognize it until you claim some degree of understanding to what that blessing is about. That is sadhana. I might not have described it exactly that way a few years ago when I was chanting with cows. They were my favorite students at that time. The cows had an eye problem in the fields. They're dairy cows in North Carolina, where I opened the Wise Earth School of Ayurveda. And it's a very Christian Bible Belt part of America. And I wanted so much to chant the Rudram with the cows because I love cows. And also I love Rudram. And I knew it would help them to heal their eyes. So I told the farmer that I would ask his permission and asked if I could sing hymns to the cows. And he said, fine, just so you're there early enough and not disturb their feeding and their grazing and whatever. And a few weeks later, he was able to take the blinders off them that was protecting their eyes from the flies. And they were healing. The eyes were healing. Again, Namaste Astu Bhagavan Vishweshwaraya Mahadevaya Triambakaya. It heals everything. It even heals what we cannot heal. And that is huge. But chanting with cows, living with the deer, because there was a huge number of deer in that forest that came to meditation almost every day. And actually they have an amazing, immaculate sense of timing. Even when the clock changed, they knew what time to come. You wonder about that, because changing clocks is all man-made idiocy, really. I mean, I have no idea why we change clocks, but anyway, timing. But the fact of the matter is that the deer understood. They are so connected to human sentiency and timing. And oftentimes when I'll be traveling, I'll come back, sometimes late at night, and then I'll be late getting up to do my prayers. And the buck would come on the deck and start stomping. Like, where are you? What's going on? Time for meditation. Animals are so sentient. And in the deer, the particular beauty of the deer, that's called deer medicine, and the native all knew that, is that they can come so quietly behind you and you never once know that they're there because their mind isn't so busy. Human mind is probably the busiest of all animal species. And we hear each other. We hear each other think. We hear each other worry. Imagine if we didn't hear each other, but only the resonance of incredible silence. That is sadhana. That is inner medicine. Not silence because we don't speak. Not silence because we can't think. But silence because there is no other choice. There is an emptiness, a shunyam, but it's not empty. It's filled with anandam. It's filled with not the intellect, but a cognizant understanding of things. Imagine striving for that sadhana. And yoga can take us there. Meditation can take us there. The studies of the Vedas can take us there. The studies of anything that we are particularly, music can take us there too. What can't take us there is the mind alone. And in the form of disease, we look at diseases in Ayurveda as a preoccupation in the mind. Not that the preoccupation in the mind causes the disease, but it certainly fuels it. Could be karmic, could be genetic, which is also karmic. Could be many number of things. But it's a natural part of the dosha, dosha, that which easily goes out of balance. That humor, the bodily humor, the mental humor. But what does not go out of balance, what is imperishable, is who you truly are at the core, that spirit of who you are, the you that you're getting to know, the you that belongs to the universe, the you that is not disconnected from the other, that imperishable, phenomenal you, the reason we are here, the reason that we seek to do the work to heal. Imagine there is a village in China. I ran into this phenomenal gentleman at the Parliament of World Religion. And he said there was a time when they had been so stripped with drought and natural disasters that all the herbs had died in this particular village some couple of 100 years ago. And that what they decided to do, the Vaidyas or their natural physicians, was to find pictures of the herb and use the pictures in order to invoke healing from the patient. So if you wanted Yasti Madhu or licorice, and of course they didn't have it, they would use either the stem or the leaf, depending on which part of that phytochemistry they were going to use to heal that particular disease. And it worked. Imagine that a picture of a herb can have an effect on healing. What does that tell you? It it tells you that we have the power to heal even without the physical medicine. Certainly, natural medicine, meaning what Mother Nature gives to us, is very potent and very powerful, much more so than the chemical medicine. However, imagine the sadhana of living without medicine, any kind of medicine, because you have a rich field of inner medicine within you. Every tissue, every one of the dhatus, there are 7 major layers. There are literally thousands of channels within the body, nadis, minor nadis, major nadis. And all of it knows exactly what to do. And when we have the sentiency, but it takes awareness so that that process can happen within us. So we're constantly in the life of sadhana, in the life of Ayurveda, true Ayurveda, before it became a medical science, when it was the earth science for healing. This incredible awareness that we have give light to everything, including the tissues in your body, the cells in your body. And human emotions are natural. Everything we experience is natural. Fears and anger, responses to what should be as opposed to what is. All of it is natural. It's no big deal. It's just that we don't want to live there too long. We can have our remorses and our despair, but we can't make it the pattern and the rhythm of our daily life. And that is something that we must work with in an incredible way of working with it. Dr. Mark Halpern, Dr. Shiva today, we got together as a group, since we'll be with you for this week. He was talking about presenting in tonight's talk, had he been here to do it, the whole understanding of the churning of the ocean, the Vedic understanding of the churning of the ocean, of good and evil, and what came out of it and all of that. When we look at the dichotomy of black and white, good and evil, etc., we find ourselves divided. And this is one of the things Dr. Halpern will be talking to you about. Because at the end of the day and at the beginning of the morning sun, black and white need to reconcile with each other. We are both sun and moon. We are both the dark and the light. And even though our societies and almost all traditions have taught us that light is all the things we go after, we have to accept the dark in our own emotions, in our own self, in our own reality, in the things that happen that make us ill and make us unhappy. The dark and the light is a very big part of our lives. And as we go forward, what will happen in the shifting field that we are already experiencing is the acceptance of the dark for what it is without undue fear. That is a big sadhana that we're all being called to answer to. And it is something that we have to have a real quantum shift to do. Because we've been so entrained, our minds have been so programmed, and even though we are being programmed better than most people here with these works, yet it is programmed to disavow the dark and only accept the light. There isn't one without the other. Night and day hasn't even got a thin margin betwixt it. It flows seamlessly into the other. And if we can accept all things we consider dark in the light of our own awareness, I think we can make great strides to be the answer for the things that are coming up in our near future. This work of spirit, this work of awareness, this work of yoga, of Ayurveda, and every other healing science from every tradition, this work is about strengthening that core. Not just the physical body core, losing weight, gaining weight, da 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 da. Not just the psychic weight either, the psychic strength. That we need to strengthen, for sure. The world is experiencing a very, very fragile psychic experience right now, all over. But we need to understand our spirit in order to stay strong within it. Spirit doesn't need strengthening, it's already imperishable. We need to accept that and stay strong in it. And we are going to be called to do that. An ounce of prevention. As I said, we need a ton of prevention. We need prevention against our own mind. Mind prevent. But the mind is not our enemy. The mind holds the intellect. That is something extremely beautiful. An intelligent mind. An intelligent mind is a vairagi, viveka, the discernment. But there is something greater, and it's our awareness. Awareness of all that is and all that will be. Part of the work that I've been doing lately since the last 8-9 years is called the Peace Mandala. And the reason that I took to that work is my connection to Mother Earth, and she'd given me so many gems that became countless. And when things became difficult again, and they did after I dropped my robes, it was really the work that rescued me again. And it's fine because we're always called to the solution. Did you know that? And it's never usually what we think it's going to be. You know, we could look at it and diss it and say, oh, that's not the solution. That's why I don't want you to be too hard on Mr. Trump. You know, I look at some of the comments that the so-called holistic community make, and it is so dreadful and so hateful and so full with spite and anger. What sort of holism is that? Yes, we can't condone what is wrong. We can't condone what is going to cost the humanity so much. But by the same token, how can hatred be part of the sadhana that heals? Never. When we take to the path, a yogic path, we take to peace. We take to shanti. And it doesn't mean that everything in our life is going to be that way. There's so many things that throws us overboard every day. Some big, some small, some huge. But we keep the rudder of mind on peace, on the resolution for peace, and we'll be safe. We'll be fine. We watch our words, our thoughts, our action. They all follow suit. The Peace Mandala takes these wonderful grains from Mother Earth, and we do avrata. Avrata is a sankalpa. Sankalpa is more than an intent. It is something that reminds us that we made a promise to the self. And we'll be doing that at the workshop tomorrow afternoon at noon, creating a Peace Mandala. More than 1 million people have been contributing to the Peace Mandala since I started the work in 2009. It brings a sense of gratitude back to Mother Earth where it belongs. She is hurting. How many of us see that? She's not lashing out with the fires in the West Coast and the floods in India and the endless wars in humanity. She's never angry. She's never volatile. She's never getting back at us. She's not taking revenge. She's simply creating her sense of balance, and things get destroyed in the process. Because her main drive, her awareness, is to bring back the absolute balance. When the body is fighting a disease, much like that, we lose so many things. We can lose an organ, we can lose time, we lose our health for a period of time. It seemed like a catastrophic thing that's happening, but in fact it's not. It's simply the body bringing back its own natural stasis, its own natural sense of balance, and we have to give it that time. Mother Earth is hurting. She's doing what she's doing. We are the sentient ones. We are the children of her womb, the sentiency of her absolute Shakti, her karma. And we have to give back to her. And that's what the Peace Mandala is about. It's a reminder that therein lies our healing as well. When we heal, she heals. When she heals, we heal. It's a symbiotic relationship that doesn't change much no matter which government we have, which time of year we live in. It is the infinite, permanent truth. So sadhana then is everything that we can bring within us to a point of harmony, the resolutions, discovering who we are, discovering what that purpose may be, and purpose can shift. It can shift, and it can change. When I took to the vow, it was such a beautiful gift from my Guru, Swami, the late Swami Dayananda Saraswati, the same lineage as Swami Shivananda. In fact, my Ayurveda Guru was from Shivananda ashram in Rishikesh, India. So there's a very close connection to this ashram and to this lineage. My Guru and Swami Shivanandaji, although he's was younger than Swami Shivanandaji, are all from the same Vedavyasa lineage. Anyway, where was I? When I took that vow, it was the most phenomenal thing I could have done. I wasn't doing anything, but it was a sadhana. In fact, our cremation is energetically performed at that time. So then when I decided I rose from the dead, having disrobed, that is, it was not something to be done. But as I walked with the Peace Mandala and as I walked with the work, I understood that we are on shifting grounds. I would never disavow my tradition. I love my tradition. It was also my ancestral tradition and a long lineage of a Brahminical family. But I am accustomed to shifting grounds. I was born with the British out in British Guyana there. My people had come, my grandparents, great-grandparents had come on a boat like loads of cotton, bales of cotton, shipped over to a different country. And being knocked down at an early age with ovarian cancer, and then survived, not through my own doing, through the goddess's will, and then returning back to the ancestral roots, and then being given that great gift as a Swami, a sannyasin, really, more to the truth, one who renounces the material and the irrelevant in life. At a certain point, awareness understands everything is irrelevant except awareness. And then renouncing the renunciation was a very strange karma to have. But it was to the truth that I found within myself as I moved along in this time and space that we are in. And I'm not saying this is going to be the truth or should be or whatever for all sannyasins, of course not. But for me it was the truth that I no longer needed to be tied to a certain color and even to my religion. Because as a humanitarian, I belong to everyone and everyone belongs to me. And that is the work of the Peace Mandala. It taught me that. It wasn't, what do you call that kind of choice where you're being approved? It wasn't a choice that was approved, except by my guru after many conversations. But it was my personal direction. And I stayed true to that. That is how our sadhana can go. It is to do what your truth is, and that truth might change. But I knew in my heart that it was the heart that needed to be unrobed. And perhaps the body wears robes and heart stays unrobed, but unrobed in a way that doesn't delineate me, doesn't define me, where I can easily and safely stand beyond beliefs. Because in the true tradition that I was born in, I know that I'm here not to believe in God, but to know God. And the journey of knowledge and knowing and awareness is perhaps the most spiritual thing that we can align ourselves to. So spiritual that we don't have a delineation. But the people, ironically, who come closest to non-delineation are the sannyasins, are the yogis. And so it is a question of our own personal dharma and what that is. So sadhana is also about dharma. In no way am I disrespecting my illumined tradition. I was so fortunate to be born in it and to walk it, because it has taught me everything that comes through speech, everything that comes through the action. And behind it is, like with yourself, infinite lifetimes behind it. Who knows? We've probably belonged to every possible tradition in the world. We were even probably relatives of Mr. Trump. But please pray for the gentleman. He, more than anyone that I know, needs our prayers. Sadhana bhavatu, sadhana bhunatu. May this poor man be enlightened. But we are not greater, we are not superior because we can pray. We are not, because with knowledge and awareness, it beats us up until we become extremely humble. And that ultimately is our sadhana. So every time you get beaten up, go, thank you, Lord. I'm becoming humble. But don't go beating yourself up, please. There are so many people who can do that so accurately and so well. Okay, I'm not going to make husband-wife jokes. Now that life of matrimony too is very important. We, not only for progeny, but for maturing as well. That's a karma yoga path as well, the grahastha path. But so here we are. How are we doing? Rukminji said not to make too many jokes, so I'm not going to make too. I was talking about MI5 and the massage. Oh God. We don't. Anyway. You know what is beautiful about being in your truth? The freedom that comes with it. Really, it's indescribable. It's indescribable when you do not any longer need the approval of any of your humankind. Hopefully we still have the approval of the animals, though. And when your whole alignment is with Mother, whether she's Mother Earth or Mother Nature, your own mother, the Divine Mother, the mother that gave birth to these incredible gurus. And they themselves have become maternal and mother as well. I know that my guru, Swami Dayananda, was one of the most compassionate maternal gurus. Really. But he was a stickler for knowledge too. I remember when Mata And I snuck a visit out there in the backwaters of Kerala to visit with her. And this is going back some quarter century ago, almost. And I didn't want to tell him because she does not belong to the Vedavasa lineage and is not in the way of that particular lineage. So I kept it from him. But he found out and he called me into his office one day and he said, Maya, I heard you went to Kerala. And I said, yes, Swamiji. And then I knew that he knew. And he said, well, if you wanted a hug, you could have come to me. Gurus are beautiful. The likes of whom, I think that's a special set of lineage, but I shan't go there. When the Hare Krishna, beautiful group of people that sing Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, when they were first allowed at the airports and stuff, remember those days, those of you who are older? They can no longer do solicitations at the airport now, but in time past they did. And I traveled with Swamiji quite a bit from India to the US. And at JFK, we were accosted by this wonderful group of Hare Krishna. And they said, Swamiji, you must take this. It's the Bhagavad Gita as it is. And he said, thank you, but I prefer the Bhagavad Gita as it was. Okay, these are all guru jokes, and it gets the Hindus in a lot of trouble. Because comments like that, kind of put across a certain amount of superiority. But in fact, it wasn't. It's so innocent. But like all amazing gurus, he had a phenomenal sense of humor. And that is another sadhana, the saving grace. To see humor in terrible situations. Not a lack of compassion, mind you, but in something you consider terrible happening to yourself, to see the humor in it. If you can see that, it's the big spark of light. It's the big doorway that can open for you, that take you through that messy path. I don't know, my karma has been very, very messy. But it is my karma. And whatever it is, we can't prevent it though. We can't prevent our karmas, but we can negotiate them. We can certainly negotiate them through our awareness and our understanding in a way that lightens the load. That much we can all do. By not belaboring it, we can feel sorry for ourselves. But as I said, it's part of the ego latching on to, I'm victim, I'm victim, I'm victim. Nobody wants to be a victim. It's a very boresome situation to be a victim and to feel like a victim. You can be victimized. I'm not saying that people are not. People are being targeted all the time. But to buy into the feeling of I'm a victim is not good. You are the imperishable spirit. So death comes, big deal. We've died so many times before. It's not really a big deal. I think what hurts in the process of despair, most of all, is when we break trust amongst each other. When humanity breaks its trust with each other. That's hurtful. That truly is, in my opinion, the most hurtful thing that can happen to the human person. And that breaking of trust, you could call it betrayal, but it's really when you examine it, you see that no one can really betray you either. That's a phenomenal thing to know. That no matter what someone does in our human collective, we could never be betrayed by another. Did you know that? It may appear like you're being betrayed by someone. But the breaking of trust is something far different from from feeling that we're being betrayed by someone or something. The breaking of trust is that we lose this connectivity, we lose contact with each other as I am thou, you are me, that connectivity. That is a deep And we cannot live alone. We need each other. And because of that, we must love each other, no matter what. Imagine that. Because that is the way that we are configured. That is the way that we've been downloaded from the cosmic sound of Om, is we have been downloaded in a way that makes us love each other and need each other. So when we start to break that connectivity, that is the betrayal. That is the greatest betrayal. Disease don't betray us. Disease just forces us to look at things differently, keep a different perspective on it. I was looking at a card today. It came up on the computer screen, and it was a tarot card, and it had a page looking at 3 cups, and then there was a cup behind him. And the meaning of that card was that we so pine away for the things we expect, and things will happen a certain way, the 3 cups, that is. And then there's this huge offering right to the left or the right of us, and we don't see it because our peripheral is blocked because we are so invested in what we expect. And I thought, isn't that an interesting card to come up? So where is the medicine in all of this? Who can tell me? It's in yourself. Boundless, endless well, infinite reservoir of wellness is right within us. We can each one reach in and have it as our resource. And the practices we do, whether we do mudra or pranayama, meditation is so important. Yoga, stretching those limbs, walking. Oh, look at this exquisite ocean, oh my goodness. The prana alone out there is phenomenal. And when we go back to our homes, we take that prana with us, and there's prana everywhere. These exercise the limbs, the psychic limbs and the physical limbs, in order that the awareness can stay sharp and stay directed, so that we can heal. Not only ourselves, because we can never heal alone. When we heal something that is happening within us, we're healing each other. We're healing everyone. The bigger the problem, the greater the healing. The greater the healing, the greater it reaches out and ripples out in phenomenal ways for all of us. That's sadhana. And that is a powerful way to live. And an even more powerful way to be. Any questions about the peace mandala tomorrow? Will we be doing it in this room? We'll be setting up a beautiful cloth. We'll have the grains and legumes that Mother Earth has provided us. And Mother Rukmin and Mother Meenakshi have actually been the nimitta karana, the instrument to provide it. And we take a sankalpa, we do a vrata. You can call it a vow. The vow of ahimsa. Who knows what ahimsa is? Yeah? Non-hurting, non-violence, harmony. What else? Peace. But which peace are we going to invoke? Are we invoking peace external, peace political, peace religious? Personal peace. A calling to remember. It really, the vow is a lens that make us, it's a lens through which you see your own awareness. The vow goes like this. I take the vow of ahimsa. I make inner harmony my first priority. I take the vow of ahimsa in my thoughts, speech, and action. So simple. And you could say it in any words you want, in any language you want. And it comes back to guide you. Just like your prayers, a chant. How many of you find it, having learned the Sanskrit chants, when you're driving it comes up, when you're walking it comes up, when you're angry it comes up? How many of you have found it coming up while you're angry? Interesting. It is so interesting about the chants. But I always find that when I'm driving, it really, you could feel the protection on the road. You could feel that it protects everything around you on that road. Interesting things happen. Om Namah Shivaya. How many of you have ever gotten angry with your God? That's good. So no questions? Yes, dear.
As you changed your Dharma, how did that come to you? Was it in meditation or a feeling, or how did you know that everything had changed?
Because I was not happy anymore with my path. I was doing it well, but almost. And I've always been led by my joy. Even when I was in the throes of cancer. I am mischievous. I tend to do a lot of mischievous things when I'm healing. Innocently so, I think. And I was feeling wan, tired, drained for the first time in my life. And age has so little, nothing to do with that. It's an energetic thing. The ojas is becoming less. The grayness is taking over. And to me, that was a mortal enemy. I couldn't live that. I also found that my creativity was not as sharp. I love to be creative in so many ways, gardening and working with the earth and working with creative things. That's part of the ojas of life. When I talked to my teacher about it, of course, his first response was absolutely not. You cannot do this. And I had to go through a period of, and Swamiji was phenomenal, and no one wins an argument with my guru. He's such a logician. He just has impeccable logic. So I finally had to tear myself down and said, but Swamiji, I just discovered I'm a woman. What a cop-out. Anyway. I realized you'd have no defense with that. He goes, ah, va, 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 now you're a woman. But but yes, actually, there was great truth to that. Not that women shouldn't wear robes, but for me, there was the greatest truth in that. I had lost my womb at a very, very early age, and then I marched on like a wonderful spiritual soldier, never looking back, and crash bang into, the goddess. Yeah. There were so many. Look, I wasn't that smart and that alert, because had I been, I would have caught it earlier. Before I even took the vows, I could have caught it. But I didn't. I wanted to please my guru. And it's a good thing for women to want to please their fathers. It's a natural thing. But I always had some reservation about it, because I always cherished the sadhana of being creative. But I didn't feel bound at first. There was something to be had and something to be learned in that journey, or else it would never have happened. It was a phenomenal journey, actually. I still haven't processed it all. Others are busy processing it for me. I know, but there are no others, as Gandhi said, so we work together. Thank you for that question. Yeah. Oh. Om Namah Shivaya. How are we doing time? Yeah, okay. We have time for one more question. What, dear? What about kindness? Oh, what does kindness mean? Yeah, kindness. Yeah. It's a big question. Yeah. It's that which I talked about earlier about not breaking, not losing connectivity to the other, to each other as humans. And sometimes in the journey of my life, just not so long ago after I dropped those robes, there was a lot of unkindness that came my way. And I began to question my dedication to the betterment of humanity, really. And I had to go through a whole process that required every ounce of kindness to myself to come back to my sense of balance. That I cannot live disconnected from even the worst of humanity, even the worst actions of humanity. But I did question it. Because I also am temperamental sometimes. So kindness in this sense means coming back, struggling to get back to the core of non-separation. Because ultimately we are useless without knowing that we are non-separate from each other as spiritual teachers. The only useful thing about that is that we are not separated from anyone. But kindness can mean many different things. It can be compassionate. It can be when someone is hurting, you don't respond to what they're doing, but respond to what makes them do what they do. That's kindness. That's deep kindness. That's so difficult to see. I was surprised that it took me time to see that when things got rough. But then again, I always demanded too much of myself. So the kindness there was to say, salavi, let it be what it is, tatastu. So you didn't get it at first. It's okay. Because we can demand so much of ourselves and it's not reasonable. So I think it's back to the kindness to self, to understanding our own faults, flaws, and being able to get back up and brush the dust off, and that's kindness. Peace be your journey. Thank you.